Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. So glad you guys can join us once again. For those tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X, we're glad that you all could join us for today's segment. We're going to go ahead and bring in our friends over on Instagram as well, so they can be a part of our chat for today. And we're going to connect with our friends over on Amazon, so I can introduce you guys to today's author and a book that you definitely want to be able to add to your reading list. And we're now live on Amazon Live with Cyrus Webb Presents. If you guys are new to us on the Amazon platform, welcome. Make sure you guys do hit that follow button. You see it either here in this corner or down below. You also will see the newest book by our next guest. We're so excited to welcome author Audrey Ingram to our broadcast today. She's the author of this book I had a chance to read called The Summer We Ran. We're going to talk to Audrey not only about the characters she's been able to give us in this book, but what's been like for her in her writing journey to share these with her readers and to see the response. Audrey, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a real pleasure.
Well, the pleasure's definitely all mine. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the book for our audience over on Amazon. You guys can get it there in print or the Kindle edition. So, Audrey, I know the book is just officially out. It's still very early, but the reviews are already coming in. What has it been like for you to see the way that people are responding to the new read?
Oh, it's so exciting. I am a big fan of summer. Summer reading season, I think, is one of the best. So to have people already enjoying this book on their vacations, by the pool, it's just a real joy.
I think the thing for me, and I actually said it in my review, Audrey, is that these I went into this book not really knowing what to expect. I love the title, and the title plays in a couple of different ways for me as a reader. After I read the book, what I love is the fact that you're able to show us both for, of course, for Tess, but also for Grant, how all of us can be impacted by external forces, and it kind of affects how we see ourselves and how we interact with others. What was that like for you to play with when it comes to the two main characters?
Yeah, so The Summer We Ran is about first loves turned political rivals. And it follows, as you mentioned, Tess and Grant, who meet as teenagers and, despite their very different backgrounds, fall deeply in love. But their summer romance ends in heartbreak and tragedy and unfortunate secrets that they both keep from one another. And they don't think they'll ever see each other again, but 25 years later, they are both running for governor of Virginia. So, what I really wanted to do was not write a book about politics, but to write a book about the people and the way that we can have these experiences in our lives, especially young love and young experiences that really shape who we become and can really have a significant impact on our destiny. And it was really a fun experience to kind of juxtapose the high stakes tension of a political election with those kind of butterfly feelings of your young first love.
Yeah. I love the fact, and we'll talk around this, Audrey, that one thing that I found really interesting, because for those who don't know, we're able to kind of get both dynamics, get to know both of the characters is the way you wrote the book, both with Tess as with Grant. But we also were able to see, as I mentioned earlier, the external forces. And what I mean by that, and when I mentioned my review, was family. And again, I'll talk around this, but both Tess and Grant are both dealing with issues with family, right? And it's interesting that in many ways, that especially when it comes to Grant, Tess is able to be there for him through a very difficult time. What was that like for you to show how a lot of times that even when it comes to love in our lives, that the way that we interact with others, the way that we deal with others, the way we see ourselves has a lot to do with the way that we expect other people to see us.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think we have all had hard times in our lives. And I think how you navigate those hard times and how you find hope and what motivates you to move forward can really shape who you become. And that's certainly true of the young experiences that Tess and Grant have and how that impacts the adults that they become. And was really fun and rewarding in this book is that I wrote it from both characters' perspectives. So you learn Tess's side, but then you also learn Grant's side, both in the past and the present. It's told in the summer of 1996, so you get lots of that 90s nostalgia when these two characters are meeting and falling in love. And then also the other timeline is in 2021 during the election, modern day, what is happening and how did those experiences of their childhood really impact who they became.
Yeah. Again, I'll talk around this, Audrey, but I thought it was really fascinating in the modern world for them how Tess has this idea, and what she says is so true in the quote unquote real world that we live in today, unfortunately, that sometimes when things happen with men and women, it seems like the person who always seems to get the worst end of it is the woman. And she even says that in the book that she knew that was going to be the case when it came to Grant and her. I love that the real world dynamics of this. How did this story all begin for you, Audrey?
Well, I was a practicing attorney for many years in Washington, D.C. before I transitioned to writing.
Mhm.
And, even before I was practicing law, I loved watching shows like Scandal and The West Wing. And I even volunteered on an election, on a campaign when I was in high school. So,
Mhm.
kind of the high stakes of politics has always really appealed to me. But I wanted to write a story about the people and the candidates. And I think
Yeah.
you referenced, sometimes for women, especially, ambition can be a very dirty word. People have very strong ideas of what it means to be an ambitious woman. And does that make someone likable or not? And I think likability is something that is an ever shifting dynamic. And I
Right.
really wanted to explore that with the main character of Tess.
Yeah, I love that, and I love the fact that, and as you mentioned, we get to know Grant well too. And as a guy reading a book like this, it's great to be able to see our perspective shown, even because we don't see that a whole lot. It seems like sometimes with stories where you get to know us for who we are instead of how people see us. I think
Mhm.
that is so interesting, though. It also shows the pressures again that we can feel on us, and how we can sometimes feel defined by others. Even Grant, who's in what appears to be a more privileged situation, he deals with the same real world issues that all of us do. How
Yeah.
important was that for you, Audrey, in crafting his character to make him someone who was relatable, but also fit the story you wanted to tell?
Yeah, his character is one that I frankly was a little bit nervous to write in the beginning because I am a woman and knew I needed to write his perspective. I needed to tell his story and I wanted to really do his story justice.
Mhm.
And I will say at the end of the day, the chapters told from his perspective are some of my favorite in the entire story.
Mm.
I really needed to connect with who he was and the life he led and the struggles that he held
Yeah,
despite this outward appearance of ease. It
yeah,
appears that he has this life of privilege, and yet he is confronting demons that a lot of us have also experienced in our lives. And
mhm,
connecting with him as a character was a really rewarding process. And I really loved being able to tell his story as well. I think that's very important that we not just hear one person's story. We really need to hear other people's stories, especially if they're people we disagree with.
love that. Alfonso, hello to you. Thanks for joining us there from North Carolina. Glad to have you on with us. I want to reset real quickly, and I appreciate the hearts over there on Amazon. For those of you who are just tuning in, welcome. You all are watching Cyrus Webb Presents on Amazon.com, but we are simulcasting this for social media. We're excited to welcome author Audrey Ingram to our broadcast today. Her newest book is The Summer We Ran. You guys can see it there. You guys can get the print edition there so you guys can see, but also the Kindle edition there is 33% off. You can get it for $9.99. So you guys can go ahead and one click it and start reading it today. One other thing I wanted to mention, Audrey, that I really liked about this has to do with Tess. And again, I'll talk around it, but you know what I'm talking about. That Tess has with her mother when there's an important decision that has to be made, and basically letting her know that what she thinks and what she wants matters. I think that is such an important message, not only for Tess at the time, but also for readers, I think male and female, because I think it fits what Grant was going through too in some ways. But what was it like for you to kind of have that gift? I mean, because both of them have interesting relationships when it comes to their parents, but what was it like for you to kind of give Tess that gift to her mother at that time?
Yeah, I love writing about mother and daughter relationships. I think it is one of the most formative bonds that we have, and it's very special and sometimes can have a lot of struggle and dynamic to it. And the
Mhm.
relationship that Tess has with her mother, like all teenagers with their mother, is not without its struggles, but I think the way that they find common ground and find ways to support each other was a really rewarding journey to write. And like I said, this is a love story at its core, but the
Yeah,
family drama aspect of it
right.
was really important to me to write. And then getting to weave in mysteries and secrets and scandals. My hope is that there are things that a lot of different readers can pull from and enjoy in this novel.
Love that. Want to step back for a second, Audrey, and just talk about this writing journey overall. I mean, for yourself, you've been able to have success as a storyteller. What has the experience been like for you to see how readers that you've never met, individuals who've come across your work, or either because of word of mouth have become fans of yours? What's it been like for you to see how you've been able to entertain your readers through your work?
It's so incredibly rewarding. I mean, I really believe that stories are bridges, and we
Mm,
need to tell stories because it is such an important part of understanding others, building empathy. I am a mother myself, and I love it when my children are reading stories about people with different experiences, different settings, different lives, because we just learn so much through fiction when we are going through that journey with someone. And so as a writer, to create a world of these characters that feel so real to me after I spend so much time writing them, and to hear from a reader that they connected, that they found some truth, that they found some escape, that they found some connection with the story, is just an unbelievably rewarding experience.
Do you feel like part of the fun for you, Audrey, is that you get to decide what happy ever after looks like? I mean, because I think for a lot of people, I think they'll read this book that is so engaging, entertaining, but also thoughtful, and what in some cases maybe you would want a different outcome, but you think, okay, this is the outcome that is best. Is that kind of part of the fun for you to kind of show people that there's not just one way of looking at what happiness looks like?
Yeah, I think it's interesting the idea of thinking about happiness versus hopefulness. And
Um,
every story I write, I try to lace a thread of hope throughout the entire story.
mhm,
That doesn't always mean it's the easy way or the
yeah,
happy way, but
right.
I want every story I write to give the reader a sense of hopefulness in this
Mhm,
world, especially when it can feel so overwhelming. I am inundated, as many of us are, with so much sad news these days. And I
mhm,
want to write stories that really give us hope, especially in hard times.
yeah,
And these characters go through hard times, but they certainly have hope at the end.
love that. It's a great story, Audrey. So glad we get a chance to talk about it. Again, everyone, Audrey Ingram has been our guest. The new book is The Summer We Ran Out Now. There are friends at Amazon.com. You guys can get it in print or the Kindle edition here. Audrey, thank you so much for spending some time with us. How can our audience stay connected with you?
So I am on social media at Instagram and TikTok at Audrey Ingram Writes. And I also have my website, audreyingramwrites.com, with lots of information. I'm on book tour. I will be traveling kind of across the US. I would love to meet up with readers, and all the purchase links for my books are available on my website as well.
Love that. Congratulations to you and looking forward to our next chat together.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to do it. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.